Hi, I'm Karen McKee, retired scientist and author. In this video, I'm going to focus on what an author needs to do writing-wise to convince editors and reviewers to recommend publishing their paper. When I first started writing articles, I did not think much about what would determine whether my paper was accepted or rejected. I just wrote my paper and hoped for the best. I was mostly successful, with the majority of my manuscripts accepted for publication the first go-around. That was more than 3 decades ago. Fast forward to today and the fact that more than 2.5 million papers are published annually. That's a lot of competition. In fact, you can figure out what your chances are by looking at a journal's acceptance rate. Top-tier journals often accept less than 25% of submissions. For example, a journal I recently published in sends out for review only 58% of papers submitted and accepts only 22% of submitted manuscripts for publication. What this means essentially is that to convince this journal to publish your paper, it must be better than 78% of all papers submitted. Let that thought sink in a moment. If your goal is to publish in a high-impact journal, you must ask yourself if you can write a paper that's better than 3/4 of all papers submitted. Now, there are many reasons why some papers are rejected and others sail through the review process. Quality and novelty of the science, clarity of the writing, timing, and various other aspects outside the control of the author, such as choice of reviewers. The one factor that you do have control over is the quality of the writing. And more specifically, your writing must convince the editor and reviewers that your paper is publication worthy. For example, your introduction must state a clear question, objective, or hypothesis and explain why it is important. Your methods section must be detailed and complete, leaving no doubt in the reader's mind but that you conducted a thorough and rigorous study. And the discussion should show a sophisticated and deep understanding of the topic and provide the reader with a convincing interpretation of the data. Through your writing, you want to convey the impression that your work is creative, important, and exciting. In addition, you should take a look at your target journal's instructions to reviewers to see what specific criteria will be used to judge your paper and ensure you address those points when writing your paper. In conclusion, your writing skills can greatly influence whether your paper is accepted or rejected by a journal. You may be a brilliant researcher with important findings, but if you cannot communicate your work effectively, your paper will have a lot of difficulty passing peer review. And if you are aiming for a high-impact journal, the quality of your writing will be a key means of convincing the journal that your paper meets their high standards.